They really didn't have to go so hard naming each differently colored unicycle. What comes to mind when you think of the unicycle? The first thing you might imagine is a clown juggling mounted on a singular wheel. Although the unicycle has been a staple under many big top tents, today, unicycles have evolved into a highly acrobatic tool for riders and trick performers alike. They have even followed into the electric age amongst e-bikes and skateboards with their own variant. I'm no expert because I've never rode one, but one thing I've noticed is it takes a tremendous amount of balance to keep upright. Each tour consists of 2 races, 2 circuits, and a stunt track. With there being 9 tours, there are a total of 45 tracks to complete. You must also complete the first 8 tours thrice to win bronze, silver, and gold medals to advance. I think what makes Uniracers unique beyond the emphasis on using unicycles as the entire focus of the game is that there are no riders. I imagine at the time it would have been difficult to render a 3D rider to sit atop the cycle, but to make up for that, they attempt to give as much personality as possible to a seat, frame, and singular tire. It's quite charming, actually. An anthropomorphic unicycle who dances when it wins and flops when it loses. The only thing that would have made it better is if they slapped some googly eyes in front of the seat. Although it has a great profile, the in-game model is technically 2-dimensional, with each view of the unicycle taken from a picture of a real 3D model that the studio created. The creators went to great lengths to detail the orientation of the pedals and parts when doing tricks mid-air and when the unicycle dances, generating hundreds of frames just for one unicycle. I actually had to search if it were possible to do a front flip and a back flip on a unicycle, and to my surprise, both were, though the back flip usually requires a trampoline to get enough air. Oh, I'm jamming alright. I destroyed this challenge. Speaking of jamming, Peter Tosh, rest in peace, of the Wailers, knew how to ride a unicycle. Who's leaving all this paint lying around? Don't harsh my mellow, man. There are a few instances of unicycles in popular media. For example, in the manga and anime One Piece, there's a pirate named Kabaji who's an acrobat who fights atop a unicycle. A popular routine in the Ringling Brothers Circus is the King Charles Unicycle Troupe, who got their start all the way back in 1969. They perform basketball tricks like dunking from the unicycle and double Dutch jump roping. It's because of their ability and dedication that they were inducted into the Circus Ring of Fame in 2020. There's also an unused clip from the movie Jackass 2, where Steve-O fails to ride a unicycle over flaming hot coals. Unrelated, and by coincidence, there's a model of electric unicycles named Monster under the Begode brand. Colin Anderson composed the music for Uniracers, as well as original songs for the first and second GTA games, and arranged songs for the Lemmings games. Colin Anderson went on to co-found Denki, a video game development company. Denki's first game was Denki Blocks in 2001, a puzzle game where you linked colored blocks. Their latest game was released in 2022, Autonauts vs. Pirate Bots, in which you raise an automated robot army to defend your territory. The soundtrack is actually quite thrilling, if not comical, for the intensity of the beat not matching the gameplay. There are only 8 music tracks, but I can race to them all day. The one playing now is probably my favorite. It's simply titled Fourth Race. For the first iteration of a unicycle racing and trick game ever, I feel it hit it out of the park. It's a bare-bones racer, but prior to this, I had never seen unicycles try to outspeed each other. It's fairly entertaining. I feel as a concept, Uniracer really could have evolved into something greater had they not run into a fierce competitor. Nintendo has a propensity to sue on minuscule infringements that seem almost universal, and the developers DMA Design under their publishing was sued by Pixar Animation Studios because their unicycles were too similar to a single computer-animated unicycle in one of their animation shorts, Red's Dream. This is the issue with big companies thinking they invented umbrella concepts like a computer-animated unicycle. It would be as if no more racing games could be developed because pole position already existed. It's preposterous. I've watched the short to gain context, and for what it's worth, the short was extremely boring and the clown was disgustingly ugly. But some judges have no sense of taste for allowing the suit to be upheld. So my message to all game companies, get your head out of your bunghole and work together to make better games, not hinder people from making superior products. DMA Design went bankrupt, was gutted, and had to be sold, eventually folding into Rockstar Games, who went on to Grand Theft Auto fame, so I guess it wasn't all that bad a fate. But if DMA was allowed to continue the unicycle idea, I'm sure we could have seen something akin to Trials, where a rider could have been flipping and tricking over an obstacle course. Maybe it wouldn't be as epic as a motorbike climbing and flying, but it could have been a humorous take on it if they leaned in that direction. Or even a trick scoring game like Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX, following the Tony Hawk formula. The backgrounds are so random. This one looks like chocolate bars. difficult to ascertain the origins of the unicycle, but they appeared not long after Eugene Mayer's high bicycle hit the streets in 1868, with the US patent filed only a year later by Frederick Myers in New York. Since then, the unicycle went over many iterations until we got the models we know today, which, to the uninitiated, are quite varied. There are unicycles for freestyle routines, trials courses, mountain terrains, touring distances. There are unicycles configured for height known as giraffe unicycles, kangaroo unicycles that have cranks on each side in synchronicity to make it look like people are hopping around, and ultimate wheels, which are just the wheel and pedals without a frame and seat, and the impossible wheel that forgoes the pedals and requires the rider to move by balancing solely on metal plates on each side. Unicon is the official unicycling world championships that started in 1984, and since Unicon 6 in 1992, they have been meeting every 2 years, with a slight pause in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. Unicycle enthusiasts get to compete in the discipline of their choice. Each discipline showcases a rider's skill in different aspects, such as racing, jumping, artistry, and even team sports. Imagine riders playing basketball, football, hockey, or polo while trying to stay on top of a unicycle. I'm happy when Mike is happy. Look at him go. Ping pong would be another great sport to feature unicycling. The fact that these unicycles move on their own reminds me of a movie called Rubber. It's about a car tire that causes destruction in the middle of a desert. It's absurd, but has a life of its own. I would recommend it, but apparently it's a hit or miss for some people. I mean, if you just look at it on the surface, yeah, I can see why someone would say it's dumb. Yet, if you have an amazing sense of humor, this movie is something you've never seen before. For better or worse. The furthest distance on a unicycle underwater is 2.1 kilometers, or 1.3 miles, achieved by Ashrita Furman at the Lagos M Forma pool in Lagos, Portugal, on the 27th of December 2013. The event took 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 37 seconds. In case that sounds impossible, he did use scuba gear. For how simple of a game it presents, the trick scoring segments can get quite difficult to complete in the time frame. The game challenges you to switch up techniques to maximize your score. I still wish I knew which tricks gave the most points though, to strategize. When you're in the moment, with the timer depleting, it all feels random. Apparently this time, I was a radical loser. Going back to Denki, between 2001 and 2009, they developed games for video programming distribution companies Sky and DirecTV. These were games that utilized a TV remote as the controller and featured several cartoon, movie, and toy properties, such as 2003's Hulk, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Tom and Jerry, Codename Kids Next Door, Scooby-Doo, Shrek, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Ben 10, and SpongeBob SquarePants. They were probably nothing fancy and comparable to plug-and-play consoles of the day, but I'm sure some of them were fun to play as a kid. I'm glad that you can choose the order in which you accomplish the tracks in each tour. It's nice to complete a quick race to boost your confidence for the trick missions. This background must have been inspired by Picasso. Imagine if he painted a unicycle in the Cubism style. I think I just completely buggered the race. The game has a fair bit of challenge. Since each level is typically non-linear and has crazy 2D twists and turns, you'll usually have to attempt each course at least once to get a grasp of where to accelerate and when to turn, and when to do a trick to get a burst of speed. Without any additional gimmicks like power-ups, the gameplay does become repetitive. However, I would easily take anyone's challenge to a unicycle race. It's fun enough to play in spurts, wiping the dust off the cartridge when it's needed. Ironically, with this course, winners don't take shortcuts. I learned my lesson for the race, but I still got something to learn about doing these tricks. When you're airbound, it's tough to tell when a hill is coming up to time how many tricks you can pull off before you wipe out. I don't know why I'm struggling with this track so much. Maybe I'm just no good. Wait a minute. This tour's mascot is a hedgehog? This course is called Hill Climb? Gotta go fast! There's actually an Easter egg that references the blue blur. If you enter Sonic or Sega as a player name, the game will reject the input and display not cool enough. Who knew DMA would throw such shade? The track design throughout the courses are slightly reminiscent of old 2D Sonic games. Viewers, which Sonic character do you think would most likely ride a unicycle? Now that's way past cool. I just noticed that the name of the track was Wario Paint, which explains all the paint hazards. It's also a nod to the Mario Paint game that was released a couple years prior to Uniracers. In the 90s, there used to be kiosks at retailers that would show videos of Nintendo-powered previews. The 9th preview in particular features a segment about Uniracers, in which the tour icons displayed several Nintendo characters like Mario, Link, Samus, Donkey Kong, and Wario himself, instead of the basic animal models in the launched game. I wonder if they initially wanted Uniracers to be more immersed in the Nintendo universe. We'll never know. According to the DMA team, they all attempted to learn how to ride unicycles to get insight on how the device would move for the game. I could only imagine all the laughs that took place with their practice in the halls of their office. It certainly would have looked like a Monty Python skit. There are a few records pertinent to unicycling that the International Unicycling Federation recognizes, such as the hour record, 100-kilometer record, the 24-hour record, and 100-mile record. Ken Louis of New Zealand and Lysanne Baer of the Netherlands respectively beat the 24-hour record for men and women in 2025. They each traveled 455 kilometers, or 282 miles, and 412 kilometers, or 256 miles respectively, which are each roughly a tenth of the coast-to-coast distance of the United States. Not to be a downer, but I'll not be setting any speedrun records for this game. The record for all courses completed stands at 54 minutes and 41 seconds at the time of this recording. Good job, Flyheck. The fact that this tour's icon is a frog and the game is about unicycles, I just remembered the Dat Boy meme. Oh, I passed? What up? The tallest rideable unicycle is 13.4 meters tall, or a little over 43 feet, and was achieved by Jamie Mossengren in Minnesota on the 14th of July 2024, recorded by the Guinness Book of World Records. Jamie Mossengren has even developed his own act as the Unicycling Unicorn and plans to release a documentary of the same name. Sem Abrahams, with support from a crane, rode a 35-meter tall, or 114.8 feet, unicycle for a distance of 28 feet at the Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan on the 29th of January 2004. For perspective, the Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil without the pedestal is only 30 meters tall, or 98 feet. That kind of blows my mind. A few famous people who know how to ride a unicycle include Formula 1 drivers Mika Hakkinen and Lewis Hamilton, comedian Adam Carolla, Mythbusters Adam Savage, actors Mark Ruffalo and James McAvoy, musician Chris Martin, and even former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Unicycling is quite popular in Japan, with many of the top unicyclists hailing from the island nation. In 1989, their Ministry of Education added unicycles to their physical education courses, introducing the hobby to a whole generation of students. If the game wasn't charming enough, the instruction manual gives a story to set the tone. It reads, "The sun didn't rise, the moon didn't set, fluffy clouds failed to make any sort of appearance, and the night wasn't dark and stormy. Nobody was silhouetted against a backdrop of stars, and the burning fires of the dawn sky somehow never had a chance. There were no such things, you see, not in the universe of the Uniracers." Far in the past, or what passed for the past, some great and powerful uni-god looked across the abstract universe and realized that his boredom went right off the scale. He was through with creating a planet here and asteroid there. What's more, he was trying to impress a young goddess who thought that he lacked a creative imagination. After all, you could only say kind things about a newly created world so many times without giggling. This wasn't a fun situation for the Unigod, as you can well imagine. So after a timeless interval locked in the celestial equivalent of a cupboard, with an endless supply of turbo-strength coffee, he came up with the idea of a race of unicycles who would compete in the ultimate games. What's more, it would really break the ice at parties. Such is the legend told by unicycles when they slow down enough to talk to each other. Well, sometimes. Although no one seems to know whether the Unigod actually won over the young goddess and lived happily ever after. In fact, if you stopped a unicycle and asked, you'd find that none of them really cared. It's racing, that's the thing. So the Uniracers came into being, and boy, were they racing machines or what? An entire race of dedicated cycles. Sure enough, they got right into their role and raced all the time in the abstract days and neon nights of their universe. And so it went for a long, long time. But there is something else too. Even when a unicycle couldn't find a racing partner, out of the abstract blue would turn up a ghostly cycle to provide a race by which to measure themselves. The ghosts never talk, never hang about to see what happens. Some call them the free spirits of cycles that lost important races and were condemned to race forever to prove themselves. Others claim that they are the personal cycles of that old unigod, used to make sure the rest of them keep on track. And at the very end of the day, in whispers, is told the tale of the anti-uni, the ultimate racer whom no one can find, no one but the very greatest of all. Become the very height of racing excellence, and the anti-uni will come to challenge you. Like, that's incredibly mental. An alternate universe with sentient unicycles controlled by a lovelorn unigod? There's even doodles of physics to define the theory of Uniracers. You can tell a lot of love went into making this game. There's a young man by the name of Ed Pratt who circumnavigated across portions of Europe, Asia, and North America, traveling nearly 22,000 miles, mostly on a unicycle. That's just short of Earth's circumference, which is just under 25,000 miles all around. He admits at times, such as at steep grades, he had to walk, but I commend him nonetheless for attempting such a feat, dedicating over 3 years of his life to his goal, cycling through snow, rain, and blistering deserts. He's experienced a journey many could dream of, but few would dare. Kudos to him. The heaviest weight lifted by barbell overhead press while riding a unicycle is 206 pounds and was achieved by Dan Galanto in Grand Rapids, Michigan on 14th of September 2024, smashing his previous record by over 30 pounds. The most people on unicycles in one location is 1,682 and achieved by Taoyuan County government in Taoyuan County, Chinese Taipei on the 1st of November 2014. There's a possibility that there have been more unicyclists in a given location. I believe the record means that all the riders were counted atop their unicycles at the same time. The longest distance covered by a unicycle over a line of glass bottles is 30.17 meters, almost 99 feet, and was achieved by Chen Zhongqing in Jiangsu, China, on the 5th of January 2014. He's even done it backwards, yet only covering less than a third of the same distance. There are a few songs that reference unicycles as either the title and theme or lyrics. These include Unicycle by Bombadil, Unicycle by Dan Molequeen, Tandem Unicycle by Chris Wright and Love Sad Kid, and Physics of a Unicycle by Cloud Dead. I would be happy with more inclusion of unicycles in video games thanks to Uniracers. We're long overdue for a new unicycle-centric game. I believe this is as far as I can get without having to redo the tracks for the silver and gold medals. So this will be the end of my ride with Uniracers for now. Ranking time! Story 1.25 out of 2. They didn't convey much of a story within the game itself, but the fact that Steve Hammond pulled no punches when trying to sell to us, the gamers, that there was more to a bunch of digital unicycles from the 90s than we could imagine, then he managed to craft an iconic story in just a few paragraphs. Is it cheesy? Sure, but it is way more creative than we could ever hope for if we were just told to race one-wheelers. Visuals? 1 out of 2. The fluidity of the unicycles going over the tracks and flipping in the air, almost looking 3D, was quite impressive. Where it lacked was in the backgrounds and level design. Maybe if they had more time, they could have shown us more. Or maybe they couldn't. Gameplay? 1 out of 2. Maybe I just like racing games, so I never minded the repetitive nature too much. No race overstayed its welcome, and stunt tracks surprisingly tempted me to want to win, even if I never mastered how to trick like a pro. I might not bother to compete against the anti-uni, but I could see myself trying to get a friend to race me every now and then, just to see who's the best at the game. Music? 1.25 out of 2. I liked the music and sounds the game had. There wasn't much variety, but it represented Uniracers proudly. It really raised the stakes while burning rubber, and the victory music is what you like to hear on the winner's podium. Fun factor? 1.25 out of 2. It won't blow you away, but if you are looking for a simple easygoing experience, then it could be a decent time. If a game like this did for me, felt like there was more to it beyond the screen and provides a view that you never considered, then I feel it accomplished a lot. From the people who brought it to life, to the nuance of unicycles in real life, this game was actually a gateway to something interesting. And I swear, in all my days, I never gave a damn about unicycles. But Uniracers was and is an extremely unique title. Overall, Uniracers gets a 5.75 out of 10. Thanks for taking a look with me. Let's see how this game stacks against the next one.